Today's news out of Las Vegas is nothing short of shocking, and if you're a true fan, you're going to want to hear every single word. The Silver and Black woke up to a storm. Coaches out, decisions made overnight, and a major shift taking place inside the locker room. But before we dive into the latest breaking updates, before listening to the latest news, subscribe to the channel, like it, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Let's move on to the new news. Now, let's get into it. Late last night, word spread that the Raiders officially moved on from offensive coordinator Chip Kelly. The decision came quickly, almost quietly, but its impact is loud, very loud. And if that wasn't enough, early this morning the organization doubled down by letting go of senior offensive assistant Bob Bicknell, a coach many considered Kelly's closest ally inside the building. This wasn't random. This wasn't emotional. This was a message. After the disappointing loss to the Cleveland Browns, insiders around the league were already whispering that major changes were coming. And now we know those whispers were real. The front office is clearly preparing to reshape this offense from the ground up, and last night was the first real sign that the Raiders are officially pushing the reset button. Raider Nation, this is only the beginning. And trust me, what's coming next might surprise a lot of people. The big question hanging over Raider Nation after the coaching shakeup was simple: who's calling the plays now? Well, the answer has arrived, and it's a name many expected. Late this afternoon, the Raiders officially turned to a familiar face to guide the offense. Greg Olson, now stepping in as the interim offensive coordinator. Olson isn't a gamble. He's a veteran. 15 years of play-calling history, stints with Detroit, St. Louis, Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, and multiple chapters with the Silver and Black. Few coaches understand the rhythm of an NFL sideline the way Olson does, and even fewer know the Raiders' DNA like he does. There's another layer here too. Olson already has experience working under Pete, and he's spent time around Geno during their Seattle run in 2023. That connection matters right now. It gives the locker room something steady, something familiar, something that won't require a full reset during the most chaotic stretch of the season. Could the Raiders have looked elsewhere? Sure. Luke Steckel is talented, but he's never run an offense on his own. Brennan and Nate Carroll might have been names floating around, but going down that path would have opened the door to exactly the kind of noise this team doesn't need. Joe Philbin brings experience, but not the kind that fits the direction of the franchise today. When you strip away the noise, the speculation, the what-ifs, the Raiders made the decision that made the most sense for right now. But let's be honest, Olson isn't just stepping into an opportunity. He's stepping into a fire. This move puts him in the center of everything, and for better or worse, he's now the one everyone will point to when the offense rises or falls. His promotion may be positive for him, but it also sets the stage for another storyline Raiders fans won't love, and we'll get to that soon. So, Raider Nation, I want to hear from you. Drop your one-word reaction to Greg Olson taking over the offense. Just one word that captures how you feel about this move. If I had to sum up my reaction in one word, it would be this: expected. Everything about this move pointed in Olson's direction. His experience, his history with the staff, and the familiarity he brings to a team searching for stability in a season that has spiraled out of control. But let's be real, Raider Nation. This decision does more than just give Olson the headset. It quietly sets up the next promotion inside the building, one that benefits someone close to Pete, and one the organization clearly wanted to prepare for. At the same time, it gives leadership a convenient place to shift blame if the offense continues to sink. And judging by the way this season has gone, the results won't magically turn around overnight. In fact, if we're being brutally honest, the road ahead looks rough. Very rough. Look at the remaining schedule. Chargers, Broncos, Eagles, Texans, Giants, Chiefs. That's a gauntlet, and this team hasn't shown the firepower to run through it. If the offense keeps putting up the same numbers, the outcome is obvious. Right now, the Raiders are dead last in the league, tied with New Orleans at a brutal 15 points per game. That's not just a slump, that's a full-on shutdown. No offense can survive at that level, and no coaching change instantly fixes that. Even Chip Kelly admitted this morning in a conversation with Jay Glazer that in the NFL, when you're not producing, you expect to be moved on from. Fair enough. Respectful enough. But what raised eyebrows was his praise for Geno. The kind of praise that doesn't sit well with a fan base that has lost patience with the quarterback play. And here's the truth. If you're part of this organization and you genuinely believe Geno is leading this team in the right direction, you're not seeing what the rest of us are seeing. The faster the franchise separates from that mindset, the faster real progress begins. So the real question becomes, does Greg Olson share that belief? And what does that mean for this offense moving forward? Let's be honest, Raider Nation. Olson stepping into this job doesn't suddenly erase the real issues surrounding this team. The offensive line has been a disaster, the quarterback play has dragged the entire offense down, and Pete Carroll's leadership has created more questions than answers. So even with Olson calling plays, don't expect a dramatic overnight transformation. But his promotion does signal something deeper, something coming next. And I guarantee many of you won't like it. See, whenever a mid-season coordinator change happens, it rarely stops there. It usually opens the door for another internal shift, one that affects the long-term structure of the staff. And based on how this front office has been operating, you can almost see the next domino ready to fall. I've been hinting at this for weeks. Back when I first shared that Chip Kelly could lose his job if the Raiders fell to the Browns, I was told that his departure wouldn't be the final move, it would be the first. And now that Olson has stepped up, that prediction looks more real than ever. The Raiders aren't just reacting. They're positioning. They're preparing. And the next decision they make could shape the direction of this offense well beyond the rest of this season. What happens next might shake the fan base even more than the firing of Chip Kelly, and trust me, it's coming. 2 weeks ago, I said it plainly. If Chip Kelly was on the way out, Greg Olson would be the one stepping into the role. And now that prediction has played out exactly as expected. But Olson's promotion isn't the only move this organization is preparing for. The next shift, the one I've been warning you about, involves Pete Carroll's son, Nate Carroll. And if you've been paying attention to how this staff operates, the pattern is impossible to ignore. Nate is currently the assistant quarterback's coach. Olson, the quarterback's coach, just moved up. And when a spot opens in that room, you can almost guarantee who Pete wants to fill it. Nate Carroll has no offensive coordinator background. None. He's been pushed forward because of his last name, not his resume. The one time he worked somewhere without Pete overseeing the situation, in Carolina, he was gone after 1 season. That's the only independent track record he has, and it didn't end well. Let me be crystal clear, the Raiders haven't announced Nate's promotion yet. But based on the internal moves, the timing, and Pete Carroll's history, the writing is already on the wall. And this is where everything becomes painfully obvious. The Raiders have been cycling through scapegoats all season. Tom McMahon gone. Chip Kelly gone. Every time this team struggles, the blame gets pushed downward while the same core stays untouched. Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, Brennan Carroll, and the inner circle that has shaped this mess from the start. Meanwhile, the real question, the most important question, is staring the franchise in the face. What happens next at quarterback? At this point, I want to see Aiden O'Connell. Not because he magically turns the season around, not because he'll suddenly light up the scoreboard behind this offensive line, but because the fan base deserves something to look forward to, something to invest in. Something that lets you say, "At least we're building toward tomorrow." Rooting for Geno? No thanks. That chapter is already written. But here's the tricky part. If the Raiders keep everything exactly the same O-line, same quarterback, same structure, it might reveal something even more valuable. It might show the organization, without any excuses left to hide behind, exactly how deep the flaws run. Because changing one coach does nothing when the entire foundation is cracked. And that's the truth this team can't avoid anymore. There's a question lingering over all of this, Raider Nation, and it's a fair one. If the offense suddenly wakes up, do we say it really was Chip Kelly holding things back? A new play caller walking in sometimes brings a spark, a fresh approach, a different rhythm. And part of me wonders if the Raiders keep everything exactly the same for a game or two just to see whether Chip was truly the root of the problem. But you and I both know the truth. Chip Kelly wasn't the only issue. The problems run way deeper than that, from the protection, to the execution, to the leadership, to the quarterback situation. And let's be honest, most of you would love to see Aiden O'Connell get a shot. If you want AOC under center, drop AOC in the comments, because I know a lot of the nation is ready to see something different, something with potential, something worth watching. No matter what happens, I'll keep bringing every update the moment it drops. We've been live all morning covering this chaos, and once Pete Carroll steps onto the podium for his press conference, I'm going to break down every word he says, especially after the nonsense we all saw this week. Because let me be blunt, if nobody asks Pete about Geno Smith flipping off a Raiders fan and telling him to go F himself, that's a failure. The fanbase deserves answers. Accountability starts with the head coach, not the players being thrown under the bus. And speaking of breaking news, the Browns named Shedeur Sanders their starter. Sure, it's not Raiders news, but the irony is unreal. The kid beats the Raiders, earns his job, and suddenly a different team sees potential. Meanwhile, the Silver and Black are still stuck with the same problems at quarterback. Maybe, just maybe, this will force ownership to open its eyes. Here's what matters today. Chip Kelly, gone. Bob Bicknell, gone. Greg Olson, promoted to interim offensive coordinator. And with that change, Nate Carroll is almost certainly sliding into the quarterback's coach role next. The shakeup has officially begun. And trust me, this isn't the last move the Raiders make.